All right, guys, we are going to continue ELA with week 7, where we're going to be talking about Gilgamesh and the Code of Hammurabi. All right, so Hammurabi and Gilgamesh were individual leaders, and they were very influential in ancient Mesopotamia. So on page 8 is where we're talking about Hammurabi and his code. So King Hammurabi, he was born in 1810 BC, and he lived until about 1750 BC. King Hammurabi was most well known for his code. It was one of the first recorded laws in all of history. The codes he created were strict and harsh. He was the 6th king of the first Babylonian dynasty, and even though he was a harsh leader, he had united all of Mesopotamia under his rule. So those codes truly were quite strict. The code itself was a collection of 282 laws. His laws would be described as strict and severe, an eye for an eye. So you did me wrong, so I will do you wrong. You stole from someone, so maybe I cut off your hand for stealing, because that's what you used to pick up the object that you stole. Okay? So the Sumerians lived in fear under his rule, because his punishments were different depending on the social class of the individual. For instance, say someone's really poor, if they're caught stealing, they probably lost their hand. Or maybe they went to jail or had to work as a slave. And if someone was really rich, maybe they got caught stealing for whatever reason, even though they were rich, their punishment might just be a small fee. So the punishment would adjust based on your social class. Okay. And then on page 8, if we look at that, not that. Yeah, so if you're looking at page 8, this is your page that you should have. Obviously, it's not going to look exactly like mine, but you should have your tabs, and you're going to want to copy down everything about him and his codes, how they're described, how it affected their society, and maybe what did it say about Hammurabi, because he was harsh, he was cruel, and he was unjust. He did a lot of really great things for Mesopotamia in terms of bringing it together, but he was a very, very harsh ruler. Okay? So, and he ruled from 1810 BC to about 1750 BC. Okay? You can go ahead and pause this and copy down this area if need be. All right, and then we will be moving on to page 9, which should look like this. And all the information from the PowerPoint you're going to want to put under this flap. It's a very tiny flap for all the information. As you see, my my writing did come off underneath in this area, and that's totally okay. This is your opinion down here. All right. So let's talk about Gilgamesh on page 9. Gilgamesh, he was a character featured in an epic poem during Mesopotamian time. The stories were greatly exaggerated. He was described as part god, part human. He accomplished deeds with his friend Enkidu. According to scholars, Gilgamesh was most likely a real person, even though the stories were fabricated. Okay, and he wrote epics. If we look back on this page, it was an epic. So the Epic of Gilgamesh was an epic poem from Mesopotamian time. It described the life of a legendary king named Gilgamesh. In the stories, he is described as part god, part human. Okay, he is strong, wise, and perfect. And his friend named Enkidu, that is described as a hairy beast. They accomplished all sorts of heroic deeds together, and these stories were written on tablets and then combined in order to create an epic poem. So a longer poem. Okay, and so even though all of the stories were super exaggerated, scholars do think that he probably was a real and influential leader, just with exaggerated stories. Okay, so at this point, you're going to fill out those pages, and you are going to gear up for next week, where you'll be filling out this timeline, and you'll be taking your unit test. And just a reminder, you can use your notebook, your notes, video lectures, anything that you need in order to help you with your test. And then after your test, you're going to be turning in your notebook for grading. Okay, good luck.